For heaven's sake, girl, do you want to roast me out of me corner?
I can't help it, sure, Mr. Fogarty. If they come in on top of us before the kettle is boiled, the missus would kill me.
Boiled? How are you? It'll be boiled and shanna boiled before they're back. There's no step between two houses to walk this farm.
Ah, well, they're a long time gone now.
Aye, they are. I suppose Danny and Keogh's footing every inch of the 90 acres. That poor proud upstart. The seed and breed of grabbers and emergency men.
There's the kettle singing at last. My God, I've forgotten the water for the whiskey.
Water indeed. No fear Danny and Keogh would water his whiskey anywhere but in his own house. Ah, the eyes are failing me since I broke my glasses.
Oh, sir, here are Mr. John and Maureen Keogh coming in the yard if you want to escape.
Me? Escape? Before my own nephew and Danny Keogh's daughter? That is likely. They'll be going into the parlour anyway.
I brought Maureen in to see you, Uncle Pod.
So I notice.
How are you, Uncle Pod? You're getting younger every day.
I suppose that must be because I am not your uncle.
Oh, you're a case, isn't he, John? My father always says you're the toughest old character the length and breadth of Ireland.
I suppose my mother and Maureen's father are inside.
They're not back yet. I'm surprised you didn't see them on your way in.
Ah, you know how it is, Uncle Pod. Mrs. Fogarty and my old fellow were surveying, like. So John and myself slipped off on our own.
Well, the parlour is empty if you want to slip off on your own once again.
Come on in, Uncle Pod.
No, thanks.
John, he's too fly to play gooseberry. I'm sure you were a terror with the girls. You could give John a tip or two, I'd say. This way, isn't it, John?
Well, here's Danny and myself at last.
Good day to you, Pod, old stock. Oh, you're looking well.
So your daughter tells me.
Oh, are they here?
Yes, inside.
I'll tell you what it is now, Danny. We'll have our little talk in here in the kitchen. Give them a chance to know each other, eh? Sit down, Danny, and I'll get you a drop of whiskey. And you too, Pod.
Oh, I'm going to have a lie down. I won't be in your way.
How could you be in our way, Pod? Oh, you're the man on the fence.
The man on the fence sees most of the game.
Oh, the same old Pod Fogarty. Oh, you could cook radish with his tongue.
Wait now, and I'll get you a drink.
And no, ma'am, no, don't bother yourself. I never drink when I'm talking business.
Well, later on so. And sure, there's not much to talk over, seeing that you like the look of the land and the farm.
On the contrary, ma'am, there's a deal to talk over. First of all, I want to get the question of ownership settled.
Yes, well, I told you before, and now I'll tell you again, that the question of ownership need give you no trouble. When my poor man, God rest him, died 11 years ago, 'twas natural that he'd leave the farm to me. Sure, John was only 19 at the time, and Larry was still at school. Youngsters, that's all they were. And how could anyone know what youngsters would do? So I had to have the whip hand over them until such time as they could stand on their own feet. But 'twas an understood thing that the farm would go to John, as I've said, and I'll sign the house and land over to him when the marriage settlement is drawn up.
Well, that seems sound enough.
Don't you worry. 'Twill be as sound as old Shay the attorney can make it. And you needn't worry either about how John will manage things when the farm is his own. John is a fine farmer as any man in this country.
Well, he's learning.
Learning? Sure, haven't you seen the place yourself? Is there anything wrong with it?
Oh, the farm is all right.
All right. The richest land in Ireland.
Well, not all of it, ma'am. That land down by the river is very wet, as you know.
Suppose it is a bit damp. We're not trying to make a meadow of it. We turn the calves out there, or the hunters. It doesn't go to waste.
Hunters indeed! That's a great mistake you always make here, to my way of thinking. If ye stuck to cows, you'd make more profit. Horses never fetch what you spend on them, and so I'll tell John.
These are small points.
And the river isn't properly banked. No wonder you have it flooding into the kitchen every year.
We have no such thing, Danny, and well you know it. But I suppose you're trying to knock something off Maureen's fortune on the strength of it.
I don't need to count the pounds of me daughter's fortune, Mrs. Fogarty. She could walk into any place with what I give her.
She's a fine girl, certainly, but there's many a fine girl in this neighbourhood to choose from. There's more than one girl with a grand fortune ready to crook a finger at John.
I've no doubt. And more than one girl without a grand fortune too, I believe.
And what might that be now you have in mind?
Well, there's a nice little girl beyond at the crossroads. I hear that she's in and out of here at all hours of the day.
Well, is it Bernie Regan that's stuck in your throat? Really, I never heard such packing nonsense. Bernie Regan, the daughter of my own first cousin, Julia Moriarty, God rest her soul. Sure, you ought to know, since you know so much, that I've watched over that little girl ever since her mother died and left her, and she hardly walking to be reared by her poor, useless bookworm of a father.
But I know all that, but she's quite a big girl now. It's a wonder that you, with two grown sons, never saw any danger in giving her the run of the house.
Did you see that nice-looking young man who waved at me when we're going past the excavations in the moat field? The one who was telling the others what to do?
I did.
It wouldn't surprise me if he and Bernie made a match of it. He drops in and out in here nearly every day for one thing or another, and I notice that he always seems to be about if Bernie comes.
Is that so?
So much for your notion of my sons being in danger.
Why, sure, I was only joking, ma'am. It isn't likely the daughter of daft Andy Regan will get her foot in here, seeing you're bent on a stiff fortune. My God, 'tis a disgrace to see the way that old lunatic is letting one of the finest farms in the parish slip through his fingers. Himself and his book and his scribbling and his crack-brain notions. Oh, no wonder that his unfortunate daughter hasn't a penny to her name.
For goodness sake, my sons are both like brothers to Bernie. John is a rock of sense, and Larry's at college all the time.
Yes, Larry. That's another point I wanted to bring up.
Well now, Danny, I don't see what Larry comes into this match at all. He's not even in the house, except during the holidays.
I was looking at the results of the third medical examination in the Cork Examiner a few days ago.
Were you?
I was, but I didn't see Larry's name in the list.
I didn't go for the exam this time. He had a poisoned finger that week.
Oh, that was a great pity. And what happened to him last year?
Oh, Larry was very unfortunate last year. He passed all his subjects but one. He knew so much about one question in that paper that he'd no time left for the other questions.
Oh, do you tell me so? Too much knowledge is a dangerous thing. How many years is Larry in college now?
Oh, just a few years.
6 years, ma'am. And he's only got his second examination.
You have a great interest in Larry.
I have so great interest. I've been thinking a lot about Larry. I was talking to David Hannigan of Kilvoher last week, and he was telling me how much he spent making his son a doctor. Oh, 'twas a powerful sum of money, even though his son got through the course in record time.
Oh.
And it struck me, that if it took your Larry 6 years to get his second exam, he might be qualifying for, the old age pension before he got his final.
Sure, Danny, you wouldn't understand about these things. I never heard any of your family that were priests or doctors.
Oh, maybe you didn't, but you never heard of them being in Stubbs' list either. And that's where you'll be if Larry continues his capers much longer. Now, don't interrupt me now. Don't say this in my business, all right?
It isn't.
Oh, yes, it is. Before my daughter takes her fortune into any man's farm, it is up to me to see that she's making a good bargain. This isn't a good bargain. The farm is fairly good, but there are encumbrances.
Encumbrances?
Mhm.
Encumbrances? What encumbrances? This farm wasn't bought with a bill on the bank, and we owe nobody a penny.
I'm not saying you do. There are encumbrances all the same. What about your brother-in-law, Pod, above?
What about him?
Isn't he planted here?
Pod never drew his money out of this place as he would have if he'd married. It was settled long ago when I came here that he never would draw it, and he'd always have a right to a room in the house.
Well, I see. Well, I suppose we'll have to swallow a Pod.
Your daughter ought to be able to put up with them, seeing that I'd put up with them all my life. Pod's bark is a lot worse than his bite.
Very well. Now, we come to encumbrance number 2.
And what's that?
Larry.
Larry again?
Not Larry again, but Larry first, last, and all the time. My dear Mrs. Fogarty, take it from me, once and for all, I didn't break my neck putting money in the bank to give your son a good time.
We don't need your money to make Larry a doctor.
And do you think my poor child's fortune is going to be drained away to keep Larry swanking it around the college in Cork? Oh no, not while I'm here to stop it.
If your daughter never married my son, we'd finish Larry as a doctor.
I make no doubt of it. But if your son married my daughter, I'll finish Larry as a doctor, and finish it once too, right at once. This farm as it stands is worth marrying into. This farm with Larry sucking it dry isn't worth that. Larry is a sinking fund. Well, the Kyo's won't sink with him.
So, you'll break off the match on the head of Larry.
I'd be sorry to do it, ma'am, particularly as them two lovebirds inside have taken a great graft for each other. Or what am I here for but to protect my poor bird?
I'd say somehow that she'd be well able to protect herself.
Oh, there are no flies in her biggar, but 'tis a father's part to settle his child in life.
'Tis a mother's part too, and what more, it was my poor father's dying wish that Larry should go to college.
Well, you can't say he hasn't been there.
Ah, sure, what good is college if you don't finish your course? He's gone so far now, 'tisn't worth his while to turn back.
You might say that if he was halfway through, but he's not. Listen, you did your best with him, and we're sure nobody can blame you for taking him away from college when he hasn't the brains.
Brains, is it? Larry has more brains than the whole parish puts together.
What's wrong with him, so?
Naturally, he's young.
His way of getting older must be a great godsend to the college. But it's a bit expensive for you to be supporting the professors' families as well as your own. High time that Larry did some work for a change.
Ah, sure, all this talk of Larry never did anything. And he helping to run all them college societies. If you read the Cork Examiner so much, it's a wonder you never see his pictures in it.
I do see his picture in it, ma'am, and every time I see it, I pity you. It must be a great strain on him, all that dancing and gallivanting and posing for his photograph. It's no wonder the neighbours talk the way they do.
Because you're a begrudging lot. Well, I've no blame to Larry for being as smart as the rest of them.
I know, sure, you like him to be the life of the party, but believe me, he'll be the death of this match if he doesn't get to work.
Work? Work? Your idea of college is for a boy to keep his nose in a book? Let me tell you, 'tis a good thing for a doctor to get a sort of polish.
True for you, so long as he isn't left at the end with no qualifications but a bedside manner.
Well, John is quite enough for you anyway.
John is a steady fellow. No nonsense about him.
All right then. Think of John. Never mind about Larry.
I'm afraid, ma'am, that you weren't listening to what I was saying. I do mind about Larry. I mind about him so much that if you don't take him from college and get him a job before the end of this summer, there's no need for us to make any arrangements for John and Maureen.
A job? Oh, Danny, sure, what job could Larry get? He's fit for nothing.
6 years in college, and he's fit for nothing. Doesn't that show you what education is like in this country? Squander about £1,000 in it, and you're worse off in the end than the man with the pick and the shovel. There are jobs going on the same, if you know how to get them. And we're not short of pull between your family and mine.
What sort of job?
Well, some sort of job inspecting something. Lots of soft money to be made at that game, you know. Like Tom Carney told me the other day about some job that's going in the district. Oh, what was it now? I have it. They have a vacancy for an egg tester.
An egg tester? Sure, that's no kind of a job.
Here it is. It isn't what a job seems like at the start of it all, but what it would lead to. Get your foot in and you'll be rising every day.
It doesn't sound much.
Didn't you say yourself that Larry was fit for nothing?
It would be a terrible lowering to him.
Very well so. Keep him cocked up. I'm wasting my time here.
Now, Danny, sit down there and don't be so hasty. Don't think I can't see your point. I do see it. God knows 'tis no pleasure to me to be pouring out money on Larry, and maybe 'tis true for you. Maybe I am throwing good money after bad.
Now you're talking.
But wait a minute now. Before I decide what to do with Larry, I'd like to know where we stand. You didn't say outright that you'd be prepared to give what you'd be prepared to give with Maureen. It wouldn't be less anyway than £1,000.
£1,000? I can't help this, man. 'Tis a bad case of mistaken identity. You must think you were talking to Lord Dunraven.
I know I am talking to the warmest man in the barony. You've over the poor mouth now, Dan Keogh. And we all know that £1,000 means less to you than 500 to the rest of us.
I wouldn't say I can't afford it.
You could.
But showering money around is the Amadon's way of proving himself a rich man. What other spend on showing off I put into a piece of land or a few more cows?
Oh, there's no need for you to show off.
Exactly. And that's why I always look for the value of my money. There's nothing on your side of this match worth £1,000.
Oh, I don't agree with you.
Of course you don't.
What figure would you put on it then?
£700.
Excuse me, Danny, excuse me, but 'tis really too funny.
I don't see the joke.
Of course you don't, but I do. Oh, it isn't to a dairyman's place your daughter is coming, Danny, but into a fine holding that has been ours for generation. The Fogartys have no blotted pages in their family history, believe you me.
All talk, but there's no cutting in it. We all have the same number of ancestors behind us, and as for blots, there's nothing nowadays that money won't rub out. If you want to raise my price, you won't do it on the dead Fogartys. I'm not bidding.
I see. Well, is £700 your last word?
I'll tell you what I'll do, right? I'll throw in £50 extra just to show you there's no ill will.
Make it 8.
I hear now, don't start winding me around your little finger.
£800, at my last word, and I mean it.
I'll meet you on 800.
And it's a bargain?
Oh no, it is not a bargain. Unless Larry gets a job and supports himself, I won't give in on that.
I must think, Danny. I must have time to think.
How long do you want to think? Things of this kind can't be left on the long finger. Oh no, this must be settled. Today, one way or the other.
I'll give you your answer before you go. That's fair enough. Come on into the room now. You'll have a drink with your tea. And those two within, if they aren't the best of terms by now, they can't blame us.
I'm planted here, huh? The Kyo's will have to swallow me. Is that you, Larry?
Myself? Aren't you going in?
Oh, I'm not going in, are you?
Of course I am. One should never neglect one's opportunities. Life is short. Any fun, therefore, that presents itself, any opportunity of laughing one's head off, should be grasped without hesitation. Personally, I never lose a chance of listening to Maureen Keogh. A great girl, Maureen. She leaves nothing to the imagination.
A brazen stump, that's what she is.
Poor old John. I can't see him living happily ever after.
None of us are going to be living happily ever after. From now on, it'll be hell let loose around here.
I suppose so. It won't matter to me, of course, because I won't be here except during the holidays. But it will be rotten for you, I'm afraid.
The missus says for you to both go into your tea.
We give us a cup here on the table. It'll be too crowded inside.
Maybe you're right. We can go in afterwards.
Wait till you hear what I have to tell you, and you'll be in no hurry to meet the Kyo's, I promise you.
Why? What's up?
You wait. That'll do, girl. You'll be going to the cows now.
Sure, I'll wet the tea for you first.
We'll wet it ourselves. Drop into the parlour on your way out and tell the missus that we weren't in the kitchen.
What's it all about, Uncle Pod? Has Maureen succumbed to my fatal charm and decided that she must have me instead of John?
God help you and your fatal charm. I hope you put enough tea into that pot. You'll need it strong.
I know you of old. You're trying to make my flesh creep. Of course, old Keogh isn't one of my admirers because I'm not a hard-working boy. But as we've nothing to do with each other anyway, it doesn't matter a damn what he thinks of me. Myself, I think him the lowest form of animal life.
Oh my God, if anyone had told me that we'd ever see the day when the son of Keogh the Grabber would ride roughshod over this family.
Look here, is there something really wrong? Are you only in a bad humour over the Keoghs?
Depends on how you look at it. Tell me, Larry, how would you like to start working?
Not in the summer. The fine weather is a bit distracting and things keep cropping up all the time.
They'll never crop up again. Listen now, what do you know about egg testing?
Do you feel all right, Uncle Pod? I'm sure your blood pressure would drive a train. Go on now like a good man and have a lie down.
Never you mind about my pressure. The pressure on you will be enough to drive you out of this house.
What?
You may not know it, but in a couple of weeks you'll be an egg tester.
I see. You're Napoleon Bonaparte and I'm the spout of the teapot.
I tell you, I heard your mother and Keogh planning it to make you an egg tester.
Pull the other leg for a change. Sure, you know I'm going back to college in October.
Oh, no, you're not.
Who the hell will stop me?
Your mother, acting as an eviction agent for Danny Keogh.
Nonsense, man. Why should I be taken from college just because John is getting married?
Because you're a sinking fund.
I'm a what?
You're a cattler. You're a gligeen. You're an encumbrance. And Danny Keogh didn't break his melt making money for you to spend swanking around the college. Maureen Keogh's fortune won't go towards keeping you playing at being a doctor.
Who wants their money? I'm being paid for out of this farm.
Oh, you were being paid for, but not any longer. If you go on draining money out of here, Maureen Keogh won't get value for her fortune, and in that case, the match is off.
But it isn't worth my while to stop now.
Keogh doesn't think so. He says that at your rate of going, you'll still be in college when your grandchildren arrive here.
My mother, did she agree to this?
She said she'd think it over and give him his answer before he goes.
There you are, you see. If she meant to agree, she's have said so.
And if she meant to refuse, she'd have torn him limb from limb. She wants this match so much that she sat tight and kept her mouth shut when I knew she was fit to burst with rage.
And why in heaven's name are the Kyos such a catch?
Because this place isn't such a catch. When were we ever except living from hand to mouth? We're so long now pulling the devil by the tail that 'tis a wonder it doesn't come off in our hand. Marion Kyo is an only child, and it isn't so much a question of the fortune she'll bring in now, but of all the property and money she'll fall in for later on, when the old couple die.
My God, a man would want the Bank of England to compensate for him marrying Maureen Kyo.
All true for you. But in a manner of speaking, it isn't John that's marrying her, but your mother. Women have terrible strong stomachs when it comes to marriage.
I still don't believe my mother means to take me from college. If she really intended to give in to Kyo, why didn't she say so?
And she after putting up a great show until then, huh? Telling us about your father's dying wish and all. So she had to delay it a little to save her face.
Telling ye. So you were here too and never put in a word for me.
I was not here.
But aren't you after giving me a verbatim account of the whole thing?
What?
Aren't you telling me the conversation word for word?
Certainly I am. I'd be deaf if I couldn't hear from the angle of the stairs. And anyway, I had to protect my interests.
Your interests? Are you for it also?
I'm an encumbrance like yourself, only not so expensive. The main thing about me is that I'm protected by law. 'Tis all down in black and white, in old Shay's office. I've a room in this house as long as I live.
Oh, you're all right, so.
You can't get rid of me. That's what you mean. But if you think it's going to be all right to live in the same house as that Kyo girl, oh, jeez, you've an even less sense than I thought.
Is it you? You'd be a match for anyone.
More than a match, boy. More than a match. But after a lifetime with your mother, I'm used to single combat. But from now on, that Kyo one can be turning my flank while your mother hangs on to my nose.
And to think I could have been safely qualified by now.
To think I might have had a family of my own to protect me. If only I could have married a woman without marrying her tongue. Women are like strychnine, very invigorating in small doses, but a little goes a long way.
Women, well, I know one woman anyway, that this Kyo business will hit. Here we are weeping and wailing, and neither of us saying a word about poor Bernie Regan.
Bernie Regan is a grand girl. 'Tis a pity I never met one like her in my young days. I might nearly have married her.
She hasn't a notion of what's happened here today, I bet you.
Oh, you can keep your bet. Your brother John wouldn't be man enough to tell her.
'Tis a damn shame. My mother knew that John and Bernie were great.
Yet is it your mother? She'd see a thought in your mind before you knew it was there. She's probably hurrying on this match to spike John's guns.
Hello, the pair of ye. What are you doing out here? Nora told me you have visitors.
We have Danny Kyo.
So she said. Is Mrs. Kyo here also?
Sit down, Bern, and have a cup of tea.
I will so. Why are you having tea out here instead of being inside with the quality?
Maureen Kyo is inside too.
Maureen Kyo? And where's John?
Inside too.
You mean that John and...
and Maureen Keogh, yes. The missus has it all fixed up.
Have some sugar, Bernie. Drink up your nice tea that your Uncle Larry made specially for you.
Aye, Larry is a very useful chap around the house.
That makes it such a pity that I must go forth.
What do you mean?
Listen to me, my child, and listen to me carefully, because I can't explain all this twice. John Fogarty, the half-witted hero, is about to marry the gentle Maureen Keogh.
Oh, I see.
Larry Fogarty, alias the Doctor, will no longer learn where Finbar taught. A brilliant future lies before him. If in time to come you should see a splendid-looking cut of a man peering closely at eggs and smashing them to find out if they smell, you will recognize the aforesaid Larry Fogarty in his new role of egg tester.
What on earth is he raving about, Uncle Pod?
For once, he's telling the truth.
That aged and venerable ruffian on the other side of the table escapes a sojourn in the workhouse only by virtue of a written agreement which guarantees him a room in this house for life. That same is a very doubtful blessing. I believe that before many moons he will envy me my carefree life among the hens.
Do you seriously mean that?
Look here, we haven't much time before my mother or someone pops in here. Pick up the clues as quick as you can. No more college for me, old Keogh won't have it, and my mother agrees. She'd agree to anything for the sake of this match.
Well, so would John, apparently.
Oh, never mind about that. Come on, tell us how's your father?
Ah, my father's all right. And you needn't change the subject, either of you. Because, well, if you want to know how I feel about this.
Yeah.
Oh, don't be an ass, Larry. I don't feel like crying. I feel sick. Why wasn't I told about this?
We didn't know it either.
Ash, I know you didn't. Very well. Don't you think you had a right to know?
If you lived in this house, Girdle, you wouldn't talk about rights. Rights, what you have the power to win for yourself.
Of course, I know why you weren't told. You weren't told because you might tell me. And why wasn't I to know? Since I was a child, nothing in this family was kept a secret from me. But this was. I was only to know of it when it was all settled. Not because it was not my business, but because Aunt Ellie knew it was my business.
Well, for heaven's sake, don't you think the dear John is guilty at all?
John and I, it was always an understood thing.
Oh, so you had an understanding.
Yes.
The worst thing about an understanding is that nobody understands it but the parties themselves. If they don't stand up and fight for it, nobody will acknowledge it.
Oh, you know the fighting John will do.
Very well. That's one party gone west, but there's another party left.
You mean?
I mean myself. I'll fight.
But you can't fight alone.
I could, but I don't intend to. What about you? Are you so keen on this daft job, Larry, that they're putting in for you that you wouldn't fight to escape it?
How?
And you, Uncle Pod, are you so anxious to have Maureen Keogh here that you won't raise a finger against it?
I'd fight on me back. What can I do?
Well, there are three of us then.
It would be no good the three of us tackling the missus together. Sure, she'd laugh at us.
No. I think we should have three separate plans, each of us to make our own attempt.
So a sort of guerrilla warfare.
Yes, and remember, 3-1 is good odds, even if that one is Aunt Ellie. We'll begin with you, Larry, because your plan is obvious.
Is it? Not to me, I'm afraid. I can't refuse to go out for the job. I'd be thrown out.
No, you can't refuse to go for the job. But you can do everything in your power to lose it. Sure you're not fit for the job. Insult your supporters.
I get you. Yes, by heaven, it's an idea.
It's not too bad an idea. Even if it fails, we'll gain time. And what would my plan be now? Let me see.
Never mind about that yet. Time enough if Larry fails.
Do you know what you're going to do?
I think so. In a general way.
Listen, Bernie, why don't you vamp John for all you're worth?
Why should I vamp him? He's mine already. But he's his mother's already. That's why he's agreed to marry Maureen Keogh. No, it's not John we have to beat. It's Aunt Ellie. Is it agreed? Are you game?
We're game.
Hello, are you playing something?
Oh, hello, Kavanagh. How's the excavating?
Not too bad. How are you, Mr. Fogarty?
Very rheumaticy. Very rheumaticy.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. And it's such nice weather too. Well, Bernie, when are you going to come and see what I'm doing?
I've seen already. You're making nice mud pies and having a lovely time.
Listen to the girl, and she talking to an archaeologist, mind you. Honestly, though, look, I know it isn't very exciting just now, but we've got to go slowly because we must measure and plan to scale as we go. But you wait until you get down to the cyst, to the burial chamber. I mean, will you come then?
Of course, I'd love to. But I might as well tell you, I don't know anything about archaeology.
That's fine. There's nothing a man likes better than explaining things to a girl who doesn't know enough to contradict him. Blue stockings freeze the marrow in my bones. I say, if you're going home now, I'll run you there in the old Ford. Where's Mrs. Fogarty, by the way?
I'd actually be delighted to get a lift home. Aunt Ellie is inside in the parlour. There are great doings here today, you know.
Oh, really? I hope I haven't barged in.
You haven't. My brother's match is just being made, that's all.
Good Lord, is he getting married soon?
Yes. I don't think you know the prospective bride.
Come on, we'll go all out the back.
Too late.
Bernie, I didn't know you were here. And Mr. Kavanagh, well, I'll engage. You always know where the nice girls are. Danny, here's Mr. Kavanagh that I was telling you about.
Oh, how are you? How are you? You're the man that's digging for gold in that far field.
In a sense, I am, I suppose.
You won't find any, but sure, there's no harm for a Dublin man to do a bit of work. Oh, for a change. Even if there's only another way of wasting his time. Hey, Larry, I didn't see you when I came. You're looking well.
I can't say the same for you, I'm afraid.
Hi, what's wrong with me?
Show me a minute. You're anemic, very anemic. You should swallow raw eggs.
Eggs?
Only good eggs, of course. I'll always be glad to test them for you free of charge.
You needn't have been wondering about how to break the news to him, man. He's got wind of it already.
Come on in. What's wrong with you? Why are you so shy about it? Well, look who's here. Bernie Regan. Congratulations, Bernie. Myself and John will be getting hitched up when the harvest is in.
Oh, quick work. You have my heartiest congratulations. I hope you'll be very happy, John.
Now that we're all together and we'll drink to the health of the young couple. Wait now, before you go, I won't be a minute.
I'll see if the truck is ready.
Indeed you will not. Running away like that. Isn't he a terror? If he's as backward as this now, I don't know how he'll face the people on our honeymoon. Mr. Kavanagh, nobody is giving us an introduction, although I know you already by sight anyway. Although you're so standoffish, You haven't given me a wreck. I suppose you know the women around here are all cross-eyed from trying to get off with you.
Ah, is that what happened to them? Here's someone whose eyes don't seem to be in any danger.
Don't mind her. She's a deep one.
Now, Danny, now, Maureen.
Oh, Mrs. Fogarty, I'm a total abstainer. Well, maybe just this once, so.
You'll have whiskey, Mr. Kavanagh.
Thanks very much. Best of luck and all my good wishes.
Well, now, are we all ready? Here's to the match. Here's to the future Mrs. Fogarty.
To the future Mrs. Fogarty. God bless her.
That's right now. Make the tea while I finish making the bread.
They'll be ready for it, I'd say, ma'am. 'Tis thirsty work to be saving hay for as hot as this.
You may as well take your own tea up to the meadow and stay there to help, because I want Mr. Larry to come here at once. Tell him Mr. Brannigan will be here any minute and will be wanting to see him.
Very good, ma'am. I like taking a hand up a hay anyway.
So I've noticed, especially since we've taken on those extra men. Poor Carmody is in the shade now altogether. But if you have sense, you'll take no notice of that dark-looking wild fella. What's his name?
Shaughnessy.
Ah, Shaughnessy. Them wondering spalpeens are no good to a girl.
Wisha, 'tis true, I.
Carmody is a steady man.
He is, but he's terrible dead and alive.
Oh, well, my girl, you'll just have to make up your mind whether you want hijinks or a husband. You can't have both.
Why not now, ma'am?
Because them smart lads are always too smart to marry. That's why. Well, how are they getting on?
They'll be finished cutting the near meadows this evening. And they're making the last winds in the fields near the gap.
We've been very lucky with the weather, thanks be to God. 'Tisn't often you get 10 dry days in a row. If only it keeps up until the last meadow is saved, our hand will be out of the dog's mouth. Except for the oats, of course. Off with you now, Nora, and don't forget that message to Mr. Larry.
Very well, ma'am.
And remember, you're to stay in the field where Carmody is.
I think they found something in the moat diggings just now. Bernie and Kavanagh shouted to us over the ditch.
Oh, those two are thick as thieves. I wonder is there anything in it?
Our women never stop wondering about people. They spend their lives thinking and talking about people from morning till night. A woman's mind is like a market day with the fun left out, huh? Nothing but gossip and bargaining and cuteness.
And heaven knows that a man's mind is like a market day with the business left out. Nothing but drinking and boasting and foolishness.
Foolishness, my dear woman, is the salt of life. The wise ones will never know how happy the daft ones are.
I suppose Andy Regan is charmed with himself so, when he looks at the cut of his land and his daughter without a halfpenny.
Andy Regan never sees his land at all. He's so busy winning the sweep and building mansions and going on voyages round the world that you could burn down the house around him and he'd hardly notice it. He wonders not about people, but about the things he reads in books. Every time I meet him, his mind is opening some fresh knot. Oh my God, but that man is happy.
A nice world it would be, I must say, if we were all Andy Regans.
That's where the Andy Regans have the laugh of you and your likes. You take on your shoulders all the weight of the world, and they let you at it. If you enjoy working like steam hammers, that suits them fine. They have a world in their own heads, and they can walk in there any time and shut the door.
Hello,
Nora told you.
Yes, but I was coming anyway. I was speaking to Brannigan just now. He saw me on the top of a wind as he was passing the road. He called to me and we spoke over the ditch. He said to tell you that he had to go to Kilvoher to see one of the voters. Brady, I think. He'll call in here on his way back.
Oh, very well. I suppose you may as well go back to the field so, and come in later on when you see him coming.
Now I'm here, I think I'll have a drink and a sit down a minute. Gosh, I'm tired. Tell me, what compliment does Brannigan under to us that he's running his campaign to get me appointed an egg tester?
Well, he's under no compliment indeed, except that he's an old neighbour.
We've lots of old neighbours, but they're not scouring the countryside for votes for me.
Yeah, he'd do that for anyone who stood a good chance of winning. He's always at it. It's the breath of life to him. There's the excitement of the canvassing and the pride of winning 9 times out of 10.
Does Brannigan's candidate win 9 times out of 10?
Willie Brannigan's the sort of man who could win the Derby on a 3-legged horse. When he told me he'd run you for the egg testing job, I felt I needn't worry anymore.
If he's such a great electioneer, it's a wonder he hasn't nailed down a fine job for himself. You'd think a man like that would be in the government.
Not at all. Anyone who spends his own time on other people's business never has any spare for his own.
But what does he get out of it all?
Get out of it?
Yes, I mean, if he's always pulling jobs for people, what does he get out of it?
Nothing.
Nothing? Then what on earth does he do it for?
Pull, my boy, pull. It's our greatest national sport, pulling jobs, pulling the wool over people's eyes, pulling the chestnuts out of the fire, and at the heel of the hunt, pulling the devil by the tail.
I've no patience with you. Go on back to the meadow, Larry, and I must get some milk from the dairy.
Listen, when Brannigan was speaking to me, he said he had great hopes for the job. And now you and my mother talk as if it were as good as mine.
I'm afraid it looks like it, boy, since Brannigan came on the scene.
Then it's no use you're putting off your effort against the match any longer. Do your stuff now, Uncle Pod. Go on.
We might as well wait and see what happens to you first.
No, sure, the longer the match is on foot, the more it will gather force and the harder it will be to break it. Do it now. Do it when my mother comes in.
You're hopping it to the meadow, I suppose, and leaving me to face the music.
I am not. I'll stick around. You don't mean to say you're afraid of my mother?
I'm not afraid of her, exactly. But women don't follow the Queensberry rules. One false move and they claw the eyes out of you.
Here she is. Steady the buffs.
Are you still here, Larry? You might as well carry the machine knife down with you when you're going.
I'll be off in a minute. Have a cigarette, Uncle Pod.
Oh, no, them fags of yours aren't worth a damn, Larry, me boy. I'll have a draw on the pipe. Tell me, man, there's a thing I meant to ask you. Did my name come up at all when you were fixing up this match with Kyo?
Seeing that Larry knew about the egg testing job before I even had the chance to tell him, I'd say you had a good knowledge of my conversation with Danny Kyo.
Oh, that conversation. Sure, I know that by heart, but I was wondering if you explained matters to him in any other conversation since.
When had I a conversation with him since? And what need was there of it? What was there to explain? Didn't I tell him you had your rights in the house?
Oh, you did so. Begorra, you spoke up for me well. Mind you, I liked hearing you say that my bark was worse than my bite. It showed that you have a bit of gratitude in you after all.
Gratitude? And in what way am I beholden to you that I should feel gratitude to you?
Well, now, you must admit that I never closed my hold on you all these years.
Your hold on me? What raven is this? I often said that your tongue would outlast your mind, my poor man, and now I see that I was right.
Oh, my memory is still as keen as a razor. Have you forgotten the agreement that my brother John, your husband, ma'am, signed with me when you came to this house?
Didn't you hear me with your own 2 ears? And you spying above on the stairs, saying that you had a room in this house and always would have?
Oh, I heard you say that all right. But the heart of the matter you never touched at all. Mind you now, that wasn't fair to Kyo. He's an ignorant macaque, sure enough, but a bargain is a bargain, and it was off the rails entirely to hide the important fact from him.
There's only one thing I ever had in common with you, Paul Fogarty, and that is that I'm not afraid to speak out to anyone and to say what's to be said. Let you speak out now and say what you're driving at.
When you were telling Kyo about me having a room here, you didn't tell him which room.
Which room? What are you talking about? Which room but your own room?
And which room is that?
Larry, don't you think there's something wrong with your uncle?
No, he seems at the top of his form.
Answer me, woman. Which room is my room?
Why, your bedroom. The room you sleep in, of course.
And what makes that my room any more than any other room in the house?
Because you picked it out for yourself. You sleep there and you keep your things there.
Very well. Do you see that settle?
I do.
I now intend to sleep in that settle bed. Yes, ma'am, I'm moving into the kitchen. This will be my room from now on.
You can't. You can't do this. You're mad. You're trying to make trouble with the Kyos. You're trying to break the match.
That's a most unfair accusation, ma'am. As you'll admit now, if you pause for a moment. How could my taking the kitchen as my room break the match in heaven's name? Aren't there rooms enough left in the house, huh? Surely it isn't here the young couple were going to sleep. Though mind you, that's a grand settle. I've had me eye on that settle bed for some time now. I find I'm falling out of the bed a lot lately, and the great thing about a settle bed is that you can't fall out of it.
You think you can get away with this? Well, you'll find out your mistake. You'll find out you're biting on iron before you're a day older.
Now, another great advantage is the fire. Now, Larry, you've often said to me that the best thing for my rheumatics is heat. I ask you, how am I to get heat except in the kitchen? Sure, a fireplace in a bedroom was unheard of when this house was built.
You've no case in law.
Oh, haven't I? What are you so upset about, so?
I'm upset to see you behaving like a lunatic. Don't you know very well that the agreement meant a bedroom?
Any room you sleep in is your bedroom. I am now going to sleep in this kitchen.
You'll have to stick to the room you had up to now.
What room had I up to now? Huh? There's where I was ahead of you, man. Tell me, Larry, when you were a little shaver, where did I sleep?
In the front room off the parlour.
Right. And tell me, when you were going to the national school, where did I sleep?
In the back room off the parlour.
Give up this catechism.
And again now, Larry, when you were going to the monk school, where did I sleep?
Yeah, sure, you were always changing about upstairs and downstairs and over and thither, as long as I can remember.
I wasn't I? Oh, very well. Do you see the point of it all now, ma'am?
I do not. But it makes no difference anyway, because you haven't a leg to stand on.
Oh, haven't I? You see, I never settled in one room for 7 years running because I wanted to avoid a squatter's right. I wanted to remain free to move from room to room. You didn't object then, and you can't object now.
I'm afraid you did let him establish a precedent there, Mother.
You against me too. But of course, you'd like this match broken.
I can't understand why you think this would break the match. I'd be on the best of terms with you all as usual. And I might even let Maureen Keogh, or Maureen Fogarty, as she'd be then, come into the kitchen sometimes to inquire for me rheumatics.
Sometimes. If you want to sleep in the settle bed, do. And I hope it rolls up some night with you inside it. But you can't stop us from using the kitchen as usual.
There, I disagree with you, ma'am. I can, and I will. I can't have people tramping upstairs and downstairs, walking in one door and out the other all day long. I must get the stairs boarded up. And the back door, I'll have that bricked up too. It will cut out the draft. I'll use this connecting door myself, and I'll get a key made for it.
And how do you suppose the life of the house is going to go on with you walling yourself up in the kitchen? We're to cook no meals, I suppose?
It will be awkward for you, I don't deny. But you'll think of a way out. Yes, you'll think of a way out. You pay a clever architect, ma'am, and he'll take the whole house to pieces for you and stick it together again, back to front, before you'd have time to say Jack Robinson.
The first thing we'd need would be an outside stairs, you know, like a fire escape. They have them in some places on the continent, so why not here? Then we'd have to make the parlour into a kitchen, knock the front and back bedrooms into one, and make them into a parlour.
Take a door out of the rooms in the gable end.
Yes, and one could run an overhead cable just under the ceiling there, connecting the upstairs rooms with the front door. But perhaps you wouldn't care to allow that.
No, I don't think so. Too much danger of people falling on me head.
Well then, you might let us make an underground passage under the kitchen floor, you know, linking up the...
No, I couldn't allow that either.
I'm listening to you. Just listening to you talking through your hats. And now do you know what I'm going to do?
Well?
I'm going straight to Shay now to get his opinion.
You can't. Brannigan is coming, unless, of course, you'd like me to deal with Brannigan.
Oh, no, you don't. I know how you deal with Brannigan. You'd see to it that Brannigan wouldn't raise a finger to get the job for you. I'll stay and meet Brannigan, but I'll get Shay's opinion on your uncle's behaviour also. I'll send for Shay.
Do you really expect Shay to come in here on a hot day at a moment's notice?
Why not? He'll be here in 10 minutes or less. He'd get paid his fee. What more about it? Go on now, Larry, to Shay and bring him here.
Sorry, Mother, I must get back to the hay.
I'll engage you're in a great hurry to get back to it all of a sudden. So you won't go? Very well. I'll call Nora from the meadow and it won't take her 5 minutes to go to Shay's on her bicycle. I don't believe you have a case, Pod Fogarty. But if you have, you can live in this kitchen as a hermit because no one will ever mend or tend or cook for you ever again.
Oh, Larry, when I think how clever I was, that is how I ought to leave my brain to the college in Cork. I thought I was only gaining the kitchen, but thank God, I'm to be quit of women for the rest of my life.
You were great, Uncle Pod. You have her on the run.
Oh, don't fool yourself, boy. She's not on the run. Oh, she's only going for reinforcements.
Well, if I see Shay, I'll come in and back you up. In the meantime, I think we should both keep out of her way. No use being picked off by a sniper before 0 hour. Tell me, did you really move from bedroom to bedroom so as to leave your claim open?
Oh, not at all. I moved because I always get sick of a room after a few years. But it sounded very crafty the way I put it.
It knocked the shake out of her anyway. But what do you think Shay will say?
Oh, God knows. I suppose it all depends on the wording of the agreement. And I forget that now after all these years. 'Tis a bedroom was meant, of course, but law is a queer thing, and there may be a gap in the wording that would give me a chance of choking off the Keoghs.
Well, you never know. I'm off now. I'll be back later. Hello, you two. Going in.
Well, Mr. Fogarty, is the day hot enough for you?
Hello, Uncle Pod.
Sit down, will you? Let you sit down.
Oh, we're too excited to sit down. We've only just come up for a minute. Peter found some old things at the moat diggings, and we want an old box to pack them in so that the car won't joggle them on the way home.
Yes, well, when I heard you shouting, I thought you had something. What did you find?
Well, as a matter of fact, we found hardly anything. The tumulus must have been rifled some hundreds of years ago. There are 2 cysts, sort of graves I suppose you'd call them, but the urns are broken and the ashes are scattered. We have nothing for our trouble but a few amber beads, some shards of pottery and a stone.
Well, now that's a pity, a great pity. And how do you know when the moat was disturbed?
That's the exciting thing. They found a bottle in one of the little graves. A glass bottle. And Peter thinks it must have been full of holy water, and that it was put there by the person who opened the moat to guard him against evil spirits.
Would you like to come down with us and have a look, Mr. Fogarty?
You won't move, Uncle Pod, from the one cool spot that's to be found today.
So, you think the kitchen's a cool spot, huh? Well, well.
We met Mrs. Fogarty on our way to the meadow just now, and she asked about the box. She said yes, of course, but I thought she looked...
She did indeed.
A little put out, I thought.
Put out? She looked as if she were going to give the order for an execution.
Human beings are like animals in hot weather. They have to keep lashing their tails all the time. It satisfies themselves and does nobody any harm. The missus really thinks a lot of you, Mr. Kavanagh, and that's no lie.
Ah, I'm glad.
Well, I'm going to take a stretch on the bed.
But, Uncle Pod, aren't you going to your own room?
I don't have to go to be in my room, but I'll take a little stretch on Larry's bed.
Oh.
Why don't you give this young man a drink of milk off the dresser?
Good old Uncle Pod. I'm terribly fond of him.
For a pretended cynic and woman-hater, he's a very understanding man. Would you ever imagine he'd know I wanted to be alone with you?
Have a glass of milk.
Do you know, Bernie, I never met anyone who could keep a man kicking his heels more successfully than you can.
Oh.
It might appear that I get plenty of chances of being alone with you, that we understand each other very well. But you keep me at arm's length all the time.
A most suitable distance to keep a man.
Listen, Bernie, I want to talk to you seriously.
Go on.
How can I go on? No self-respecting man can tell a girl his feelings while she keeps drinking milk.
Were you going to tell me your feelings, Peter? I wouldn't. It's hardly ever fair to put feelings into words. Feelings keep changing all the time.
You talk as if a man never knew his own mind.
Does he?
Yes, surely. I know what I want at any rate.
How long have you wanted it?
Since I first saw you.
How long will you go on wanting it when you go back to Dublin?
Must I go on wanting it?
And if you must, you won't die of it, Peter. Do you know what my father says? Men have died from time to time and the worms have eaten them, but not for love. Oh, I'm like the girl in the song. I know where I'm going and I know who's going with me and I know who I love. Oh, hello, John. You're having a hard day.
Hey, must be saved. We can't all enjoy ourselves.
Oh, come now, Fogarty. That cap doesn't fit me at all, and I've had a tough day too, and no luck.
Is that so? I'd have said you had luck galore.
If you call it luck to find someone else has got there before you and spoilt everything...
He had as much right as you, I suppose, and more, if it comes to that.
Do you really think so?
Why should you come down from Dublin butting in?
Butting in? What on earth are you talking about? The fellow who did this is dead about 300 years.
John, Peter is talking about the moat. It was broken into a long time ago, and all his trouble is wasted?
I'm sorry, Kavanagh. I took you up wrong.
That's all right, of course. Still, I should like to know what you were talking about. You accuse me of butting in. Butting into what? Well, this is very mysterious.
Oh, never mind, Peter. Here, this is the box Aunt Ellie said we could have. The knife is what John came for. Come on, we'll give it to one of the men on the way down.
All right, Bernie. Whatever you say.
Well, Willie, you're a great man to be putting yourself to all this trouble, and it's so hot and all. Sit down there and I'll get you something.
Oh, not a drop, ma'am, not a bite. They made me have tea at Brady's, and I'm as packed, as tight as a tick.
Are you sure? Well, before you go, maybe. And so you should get a good reception at Brady's.
Well, I didn't. I got a good reception for myself, as you might say. But I don't know so much about Brady's vote.
Is that the way?
It depends, of course. Maybe I might as well wait for the doctor before we talk things out. He saw me from the field and started in after me. Ah, here you are, doctor.
I'm afraid you'll have to give up calling me that if you pull off this job for me. Then I'd be the eggman to my friends and the sluggard to my enemies.
Oh, don't speak of enemies at all. Don't break the word. You can't afford to have enemies unless you're a big noise and can give them hell. Enemies are a luxury, my boy. Always remember that.
Well, Willie, you're welcome. I'm delighted to see you in this kitchen.
Now yourself, Pod. Oh, the missus wanted to take me into the parlour, but I'd rather the kitchen any day of the week.
Or I agree with you. You're a sensible man. In fact, I was hoping to...
We get down to business now, Willie, and not be wasting your time. Larry has been round to most of the people already, and he tells me he got on well. But of course, he wouldn't be much of a judge.
Sure, except to call on those fellas by way of politeness. It doesn't make a ha'porth of difference. 'Tisn't on him they're voting at all, but for and against each other. He might as well be a timber maggie for all they care. The great thing for him is to make them feel important. Well, now, I was making out a list of the voters and the ones who could pull them. We may as well go through it and see where we are. Now, first, about Brady. I couldn't get a straight answer from him. Manny, why?
Because he was always as crooked as a ram's horn.
Indeed, he's all that, but the thing is, is that he's under the thumb of Curtin. And so is both two under Curtin's thumb. And the devilish step will either of them move unless Curtin tells them to.
That means we'll have to get Curtin.
If you're certain, don't believe me. Them TDs are terrible hard to pull.
They're a small blame to them. Sure, after all the big game up in Dublin, Jobbery and Ballyduff must be like shooting cats.
But isn't Curtin our own party TD anyway? Why wouldn't he vote for me? Didn't we all go and vote for him in the last general election?
You don't think he'll remember that, surely. When them fellas are out for an election, they'd eat you out of your hand. But when they're in, they take the bit out of your mouth.
True for you, Willie. Well, I don't know in the world how we're going to get him, and I'm afraid there's nothing you can do, seeing that you're in the opposite party to Curtin.
Well, that doesn't make any difference when it comes to a job. In fact, it might be the only way I could get him.
How do you mean?
He might be willing to swap with me. If he pulled for Larry this time, I could promise to get my party to back his candidate the next time there's a job on.
But he'd have to take your word for that.
He needn't take my word for it. He knows he could make it hot for me the next time I'm up for the county council.
Do your best with Curtin, Willie. You might get him the way you just said. I'm having him pulled in Dublin too, of course.
What about the canon?
Oh, he's all right. Father Pat got in touch with him, and I had a letter from Mother Mary Joseph to say I needn't worry.
Well, very well so, and that's one for us.
Charlie wrote daring to refuse because his little girl is finishing as a teacher and they're hoping Mother Mary Joseph may take her on.
But isn't Charlie Roach's daughter a BA?
She is.
Sure, if she's a BA, she'll never get a job at all. The poor creature. But what harm, so long as Charlie Roach thinks she will, we've her hold over him.
So far as I can see, getting a job is all a question of having a holdover.
Yeah, of course it is one way or another. You scratch me and I scratch you. Well, that's 2 for us. We'd want at least 6, 6 out of 10. How many more have you, Mrs. Fogarty?
Well, I'm certain of O'Grady.
How's that?
Paddy O'Grady is married to Nora Rourke, and Nora Rourke is a sister-in-law of my first cousin, Jamesy Ryan.
She's a bit far out, ma'am. But then again, how much do relations ever do for you when all is said and done?
But you see, now that the big fesh is coming on, Paddy O'Grady wants to have it in his field so as to make something out of it. And don't you remember that Mother Mary Joseph's uncle is the great Irish writer?
God, I missed that link. Who is he at all?
Oh, God. You must have heard of on Modgy in Rua. He'll be judging at the fish.
Oh, great stuff, ma'am. 'Tis no harm to say you've a head on your shoulder. You're wasted, you're a wasted woman.
Well, according to the Constitution, the woman's place is in the home.
A most unnecessary clause to my way of thinking.
God, you're a terrible man.
Now, we come to John Mara.
Oh, hopeless, ma'am, hopeless. Don't waste your time bringing pressure to bear on Mara. He's backing the other chap from the Gaeltacht, saying the doctor here doesn't know a word of Irish.
He never forgave us for going against his daughter at that time he was beaten in the district nurse.
There you are now, Mother. You spoiled my chances. Why did you care who was district nurse?
I didn't, but I thought Mary Ellen Donoghue would win, so I got Mother Mary Joseph to back her.
Fortunes of war, my boy, fortunes of war. You can't help backing the wrong horse sometimes. We must beat Mara off the field, and that will break his nerve, and he'll turn around to join my crowd the next time. But 'tis a very important point about the Irish. How is your Irish, doctor?
Is good enough for egg testing.
Well, now suppose you had to write a letter, say, to the department about egg testing. Could you do it in Irish?
I do it like all the civil servants. I begin with a chara and end with Michelamas.
Right you are, right you are. And never forget to use paper with an Irish watermark.
Indeed, you needn't be a bit anxious about Larry's Irish. Larry had Irish in his matriculation, and as you know, matriculation is an exam that could carry you anywhere.
Very good, so very good. Now, another vital point. What about the GAE?
Okay. Don't bother about that. I'm captain of the college hurling team, as a matter of fact.
Powerful, powerful. Bigart, you've a trump card there. We didn't mention helping yet. We won't get helping without a national record. How are you off a national record there, Doctor?
How the hell could I have a national record when I wasn't even born the time the records were being made?
Yeah, that's awkward, very awkward. Without a national record, we're sunk.
Oh, if only I could have been running dispatches 10 years before I was born. But there it is. You can't fight against nature.
But surely some of you must have done something during the troubled times.
I believe the missus once stuck a nail in the tyre of a tan lorry.
Don't mind that man, he'd laugh the kingdom of heaven.
Mind you, now that I think of it, my father was very nearly evicted out of this place.
'Tis a bit far back. 'Tis better than nothing. Why didn't they evict you outright? Would make a better story that way.
Because the landlord got the wind up and told him to keep the rent.
Oh, that's hopeless altogether. Well, coming down to our own times, can you think of anything?
Well, the Tans raided here for arms.
And did they get them?
No, there weren't any to get.
Oh, we're sunk altogether.
I remember well, they were so raging with disappointment that they broke every window in the house.
What? And did you claim compensation from the government for them windows?
No.
Listen to me. We can make something out of this. 'Tis a very good thing ye didn't claim.
How so?
Because don't you see what ye didn't get in money, you can ask for in kind. Ye have a strong case now for helping, and when it comes to that, ye can try it on Curtin also. It could go down great with the TD.
What should?
Here ye are that made a sacrifice for your country.
6 windows.
And never claimed a penny because of your high idealism.
Sure, I didn't know we could.
Keep that to yourself.
Oh, well, what a pity it wasn't burned down the house that was.
A great pity. But it's too late now. We must do with the best of what did happen.
I'm surprised, Willie, that a man with your gifts couldn't invent something that'd sound better.
Of course I could, but they're getting terrible cautious lately about believing anything.
You have to watch your steps, so.
Watch your step. Them fellas would hardly believe you were born unless you could prove it.
I'm afraid you'll have to excuse me now, Willie. That'll be Mr. Shea.
Shea the solicitor, do you mean?
Yes, I'll take him into the parlour. If I'm not back before you go, Willie, sure, I'll see you tomorrow anyway.
I better be off. I don't want to be hanging about and Shea here. A little bird told me about the match. The missus will be up to her eyes now in the marriage settlement.
Or what's your hurry? Let them manage their business inside. We can have our little chat here. You know, Willie, you're a very knowledgeable man. You've given me a great insight entirely into the way things are run.
You have indeed. 'Tis most interesting to see how appointments are made. Pure merit every time. At this rate, paper qualifications, degrees and so on are all eyewash.
Of course they're eyewash, if the fellow without them hasn't a stronger pull.
If that is so, our universities might as well not be there.
I wouldn't say that now. That's going too far altogether. Them colleges are a great way of solving the depression in farming.
How's that?
The poor bloody farmer is broken to the ropes these days. Broken to the ropes. So what is he to do with all his children? He hasn't enough money to marry them off or to set them up in land or the business. So what is he to do?
Invest a few £100 per head in sending them to university.
That's right. That's the ticket. And when they're finished in college, if they haven't a pull, they can always leave the country. That's fair enough.
Oh, couldn't be fairer.
Mind you, if they ever want to come back, twill tell against them that they left their native land in the first place. They get a kind of Englishy when they're across the water for a while, and we couldn't be expected to take the same of them. Now, how could we? How could we, where after they deserting Roisin Dove?
How could you indeed? If they were worth their salt, they'd stay here and go under rates.
And another thing too is they do forget they're Irish when they're out of the country, and that leaves them at a great disadvantage, you see.
So they never come back. 'Tis pretty good, you know, the way we weep over the flight of the wild geese.
God help us. 'Tis true for you. How different everything would only be except for the Battle of Kinsale. Do you know what? When I do think of the flight of the wild geese, my blood boils. Well, I must be off. Tell your mother I'll do my best with Curtin and the others. I'll drop in tomorrow or the next day when I've something definite to report. We'll have to work very hard, very hard. 'Twill be decided this day week, so we haven't much time.
All right, Mr. Brannigan, I'll tell her. Don't overdo it now. It's dangerous to exert yourself too much in this weather.
Goodbye now, Willie. You're a brilliant man.
Good day to you, Pod. Good day to you. See you soon again.
There's great talk going on in the parlour.
She'll be out in a minute. I'll know by the look of her before she opens her mouth.
Cheer up. Even if she explodes your claim to the kitchen, Bernie has a card to play yet.
You'd never know what Bernie would do next. She might get fed up and marry Kavanagh.
I'd say he's keen, all right. I wonder if he's asked her.
Oh, I don't know. I gave him a chance to when they were in here a short time ago. If he didn't ask her then, he soon will.
You shouldn't want him to propose to her. If she accepted, you and I would be left to sink or swim.
I'd like him to propose to her, whether she accepts him or not. A new lover is the best cement for a broken heart. 'Twould build up her pride and her courage again. And believe me, she'll need courage and pride if it ever comes to a contest with your mother.
I hope it never will come to that. After all, why should it? Your claim may be okay, and, as a matter of fact, I may not get this job.
Or your mother may fight with the Kyo's. Or John might go mad and suddenly defy your mother. Or pigs might wrestle for stirabout.
Well, John certainly looked very queer just now going towards the meadow.
He wants to see you in the kitchen.
Let him come out here if he wants to see me.
It isn't suitable to bring him here. Come in.
This kitchen is good enough for me, and it ought to be good enough for him.
All right. If you don't want to see him, you needn't. In that case, you don't have to take my word for what he says.
And what does he say?
He says you've as much right to be in this kitchen as the man in the moon.
My God, Larry, and to think they call that the weaker sex.
Well, if it doesn't clear up tomorrow, we'll be in a bad way with the reaper and the binder coming and all. Oh, and that reminds me. Larry, did you tell Carmody to go over to Malloy's to ask what time in the morning the machine will be here?
I didn't, but I'll go up to the Malloys myself now. 'Twill only be a walk for me. I'm fed up with mooching around here.
Oh, no, you won't. Willie Brannigan said he'd run up for a moment on his way into the meeting. And it would look very nice if, even on the day of the voting, you were elsewhere when he came.
What's the good of my being here? Yourself and Brannigan settle it all between you. This whole campaign is putting years on me. I'm sick of Brannigan leading me from one person to another like a performing bear. And the scream of the whole thing is that even if I had any qualifications, which I haven't, nobody wanted to hear them. Their reasons for backing me or for turning me down have nothing to do with me.
Yeah, 'tis a wonder they wouldn't have a sworn inquiry about qualifications for a job that's just a way of filling in time. If there's soft money been handed out for some mad fagary, shouldn't you be glad to take it? I never saw such a fella. I suppose if you're in the civil service, you'd want to know what that was for too. Sure, the budget won't balance anyway. And you may as well take your whack with the rest. Heaven knows I'm paying my share in taxes to keep other women's sons in clover. Get it out of your head, boy, that jobs have any meaning. There's a lot of cushy jobs going in this country for those who know how to get them.
Why is it so that there aren't enough jobs to go around?
How could there be enough to go around with some having 2 jobs, and even 3?
Mother, isn't there some soft soap around here somewhere? I'm giving a rub up to some of the harnesses since it's too wet to do anything else just now.
There's some in the drawer of the dresser, left-hand side.
Oh, ma'am, Mr. Brannigan is turning the corner of the house.
Very good. Did you chop the cabbage for the pigs yet?
I was just going to do it, ma'am.
Well, I'll be off now. Once Brannigan starts talking, I'll be stuck here. Hello, Willie. Soft day.
'Tis indeed, thank God. Is the doctor inside? God bless you.
And you too, Willie.
How's the health?
Oh, powerful, Pod, powerful. I'm glad you're here, doctor. There's a few little points.
All set for the meeting, I suppose?
In a manner of speaking.
How did you get Curtin? Is he definite yet?
We've an even chance of him, and that's the most we can say.
Well, if we haven't lost him, there must be some other reason for you being down in the mouth, because down in the mouth you are this minute.
Well, 'tis this way.
You're a coughing up, man.
Well, doctor, I don't know how you'll take me news.
Willie Brannigan, do you want to keep us in torture? If it's bad news, it won't improve by keeping it.
Well, the first part of it is good news. John Mara, our greatest opponent and enemy, won't be voting.
What?
No, ma'am. He's paralysed with the lumbago, I'm glad to say, and has as much chance of coming to the meeting as flying in the air.
Ah, the poor devil. Maybe a touch of a hot iron would put him on his feet.
We don't want him on his feet. We want him where he is, on the flat of his back. That's one up for us then.
As against that, ma'am, I'm sorry to tell you that we've lost one of our men.
Who? Who have we lost?
Tom Carney of Ballymore. Oh, 'tis very misfortunate.
What's very misfortunate?
Well, you know, doctor, I'm afraid you upset poor Tom.
This is terrible, and I thought I was putting myself over in a big way.
And so you were, doctor, to a point. He liked your manner, you know, and he liked your spirit.
He liked my spirit too damn well. Nothing but time, gentlemen, could close any interview with him.
The old soaker. I'll engage he sucked you dry.
And what's his objection to my son, may I ask?
Easy now, ma'am. 'Tisn't an objection he has to your son. The trouble is that he has too much respect for the doctor here, and he went straight into bed after the interview. And when I saw him yesterday, he was still there.
In bed?
Yes, ma'am. And he told me he intended to stay there altogether. He says after what you said to him, it isn't worth his while now to get up.
Oh, may God help me this day. What did you say to that decent man to have him dying just on the very day of the election?
I don't know what I said to him. I've talked so much in the last fortnight that I'm even talking in my sleep. What does Carney accuse me of anyway? It's too bad letting me down like this at the last moment, and so I'll tell him the next time I see him.
I have great doubts you'll ever see him again. It's gone through him terrible, pale as a sheet he is, and his eyes sunk in the back of his head. Mary, says he to the wife when he got home. Make my bed, says he, for young Dr. Fogarty has given me a death sentence.
Me?
I am dying, says he, of cirrhosis of the liver.
I didn't say dying. I said he'd get cirrhosis of the liver if he didn't lay off the booze. That was when I hadn't a red cent left, and he was still putting the stuff away, like a bath filling with both taps on.
Me liver, says he, is as full of holes now as if it was a sponge. And with that, he turned his face to the wall, and not a drop has passed his lips for the last week, but new milk.
Oh, what is it to have a scourge of a son? How will I face Mrs. Carney after this?
Oh, from what I know of Mary Carney, I say she'd give you a clutch of her prize hen eggs the day that Tom's liver gives up the struggle.
God save all here.
Hello, Bernie.
What brings you up here in this rain, child?
Oh, I had to come. I'm glad you're here, Willie, because I've fresh news about the job.
Oh, what now? Good news, I hope. Don't tell me we've lost another vote, for we're nearly down the drain already.
Not another vote gone, Bernie. I couldn't bear it.
I don't mind him. Tell us what it is, and don't be keeping us in suspense.
As I was just setting off to the post office, Who should I pass in the trap but Mrs. Carney and Tom?
And Tom?
Good heavens.
Taking him to a specialist.
I'm not surprised.
I see ye know something about it already. Well, Aunt Ellie, Mrs. Carney asked me to run up here and bring you a message from her.
I don't blame her, the poor woman. Whatever she said, it wasn't without cause.
You needn't tell us all, she said. An outline will do.
She said, tell Mrs. Fogarty she should be the proud woman and the fine son she reared.
Giving me the dart, and small blame to her.
Tell Dr. Fogarty, she says, I'll never forget it for him, the longest day I live.
Huh, cursing me.
And I telling ye all, only ye won't listen to me, that Mrs. Carney is raving with gratitude to Larry for his great deed.
My great deed?
Your great deed. Curing her husband of the drink, you silly gomerel. The fine rest in bed and the milk diet have made a new man of him. He had got such a fright he didn't want to get up, but Mrs. Carney hauled him out, threw him into the car, and when I met them, she was driving him into the meeting to vote for you.
Holy mackerel.
We have it, thanks be to God. Larry, you did the right thing by accident.
This is great news.
Worse still, best of all, Mrs. Carney says that she knows a way of getting Curtin to vote for you. She was going to catch him before the meeting.
Then Curtin will sway Brady and Burke with him.
We're done. We're done with all our doubts and difficulties. It's a cinch now.
It's a cinch.
Aye, of course. Old Curtin used to be courting Mary Carney long ago.
I must be going, ma'am, if I'm to be in time.
Have a wee drop, Willie. It'll only take a minute.
Oh, no time for it. I'll barely make the meeting now. I must put a spot on. Wish me luck.
May God send you luck, Willie, and reward you for all you've done.
And may the best horse jump the fence.
I'll come back with the news after the meeting. Keep your hearts up.
Well, I don't think there's much doubt about it now. I must go and see what that girl is doing and get them started for the cows. There wouldn't be milking that slept out there if I didn't keep an eye on them. Oh, 'tis dry now. You'll get home before the next shower, Bernie.
I'll have a chat with Uncle Pod first.
Oh, that's right. Take a heat at the fire and dry your shoes.
Oh, this is fearful. We are ruined, all three of us. When you came rushing in, full of the joy of spring, I thought for one blissful moment that a miracle had happened and that the voters of Ballyduff had been struck down with the bubonic plague.
'Tis a wonder I didn't come up in deep mourning. Anyway, Larry, it's partly your own fault. You seem to have been too pleasant to your supporters.
Pleasant? I did everything but spit in their faces. It was useless. They were so busy trading votes that they didn't bother their heads about my attitude. The one person I made a definite impression on was Carney. But what was the result? He proclaims himself my eternal debtor and insists on showing his gratitude by making me an eggman. Well, insofar as I was an obstacle to the Keogh nuptials, all is over. Uncle Pod also did his bit and got chawed to pieces for his pains.
Aye, but 'twas a great fight.
It's up to you now, Bernie. You never told us what you meant to do, but for goodness sake, do it. And if you fail, as no doubt you will, we will at least be able to say that we tried everything. I'm going out for a breather. I won't be long.
Beaten? Hey!
We might have known it wouldn't work out.
Who says it won't work out?
Oh, what's the good of bluffing each other? Larry is right. So much depended on his not getting this rotten job. And sure, now he's bound to get it.
Ah, sure. It might be good for him to do some work, the blackguard.
'Twould be good for him. Of course it would be good for him. And I know he's a scamp. But it's his mother's fault as well as his, spoiling him and pandering to him. My son, the doctor. And then hardening suddenly and throwing him out. at the prospect of a rich match for John.
And what about John? Is he another angel, the victim of his mother?
He's afraid of her. He's under her thumb. Obeying her is a habit with him now.
Aye, and he hasn't a bit of interest in Maureen Keogh's fortune. Hmm?
No, I don't believe he has. Really, if his mother left him free to choose.
Oh, now listen to me, Bernie. Do you want a man who's too weak to fight for you against his mother? Could you make something of a fella who could turn from you to a one like Maureen Keogh, huh? Could you make a man of him?
Yes. Yes. If his mother held her hand. If she could be made to hold her hand, he would choose me. Don't you see his mother has too long of a start on me? She's had the start of me by 30 years, making him to her pattern from the moment he was born. There he is. He's coming in. Don't go away. Uncle Pa, don't leave me.
Ah, no nonsense, girl. This is your chance. And remember one thing. When it comes to a man's love for a woman, mothers are mostly beaten by a neck and a pair of lips.
I thought I heard Uncle Pod.
So you did. He's above in his room.
Uncle Pod in his rooms. He's a great old character. I don't know what this house would be like without him.
The house isn't going to be without him, surely.
Of course it isn't. Anyone would think that I was some sort of bailiff, putting people out on the road.
Ah, cheer up, John. Nobody ever thought you had any say here. Sure, you can't help doing what you're told.
Well, you needn't go out of your way to show me you despise me. I know that already. You don't know what it is to have to consider a house full of people.
Well, you seem to have done your duty. You should be very happy.
Happy? I'm in hell.
What talk is that for a newly engaged man?
I'm not engaged yet. Larry may lose this job.
Indeed, the uncertainty is very hard on you, John. And 'tis hard too on poor Maureen who loves you.
Oh, leave love out of it. She loves the farm, but if I was penniless, it would be a different story.
A very different story. Oh, I agree. But to be penniless would have its advantages, because then someone might love you for yourself alone. Of course, you wouldn't stand much of a chance in Ballyduff. But some nice girl with a soft heart and a good job might come down from Dublin and marry you for love.
So you're marrying Kavanagh then? I thought as much.
If I'm marrying Kavanagh, but that's my own business.
Well, I hope your future will be happier than mine.
Don't lose any sleep over my future, John. And don't expect me to cry over yours. What's wrong with you anyway? Sure, what grievance have you? Do you really expect me to feel sorry for you?
I don't know you, Bernie. You used to be hard like this.
Who are you to know what I was like? I didn't know what you were like either. It's nice to see you sheltering behind your mother and taking, under the pretense of duty, the path in life that best suits you and your own wishes.
That's not true.
It's so true that I'm ashamed of you. The impotence of it. To come whining to me for sympathy, turning your nose up at your future wife with her money bags under your arm. Stick to your bargain like a man, or be quit of it like a man. But for heaven's sake, stop running with the hare and hunting with the hounds.
Very good. I'm glad to know your opinion of me.
Before you go, I'd be glad to know your opinion of me.
My opinion of you? Bernie, I love you. I want to marry you. I've wanted to all along. I never worked out how we could manage it. I simply had it in my mind that it would happen somehow. I'm not like you. I can't think things out clearly. I just drift along. And the next thing I know, I'm up to me neck in a bog hole.
Anyone might fall into a bog hole, but only a fool would stay there.
Do you think I'd stay there if I could see a way out? You do. You think I'm not man enough. Maybe you're right.
John Fogarty, you'd be more of a man if you were less of a son. You didn't fall into a bog hole. Your mother pushed you in. She pushes you in and she's holding you down. So far as I can see, it would take a charge of dynamite to get you out again. Listen to me. I don't want you to choose between your mother and myself. You can have both if you do what I say. Tell me, do you want to be free to manage your own life?
Of course I do.
And which life do you want? The one that's facing you? Or the one that you'd hoped for? Do you want Maureen Keogh or Bernie Regan?
Oh, good Lord. Do you need to ask?
Then you must follow my lead.
But what are you going to do?
The only thing that's left. You must trust me. You must take a chance. Even when it seems to you that all is lost, you must stand firm. Will you back me up? Yes or no?
Yes. Yes, I will. To the last ditch.
Then I'll tackle Aunt Ellie when she comes in.
You mean now? At once? Don't you think you'd better wait a little?
No, I don't. The sooner we get it over with, the better.
Carmody wants to know, sir, would you come out a minute? He says the mayor is walking lame.
Oh, very well. I won't be long, Bernie.
That's all right. You'll be just in the paddocks, won't you, when you're wanted?
Yes, wait for me. I mean...
Don't worry, John. Where's your mother, Larry?
Just outside in the hen house.
Well, if you want to escape, now's your chance, because there's going to be a nasty scene here when she comes in.
So you're taking her on?
I am.
What? This very minute?
This very minute.
Holy mackerel. But where's Uncle Pod?
Upstairs.
We've got to have him in on this. If he arrived after my mother had finished you off, he might fail to identify the body. Uncle Pod, come on down here at once.
What's wrong now? Can't a man have a lie down in this house without being yelled at?
Come down here at once. Bernie's going to tackle my mother.
Oh, so that's it. And where's John? Sloped off, I suppose, huh? Do you know what I think of the young men that's rising up now? I wouldn't rob a bird's nest with them.
What's the plan this time, Bernie? I hope you've thought out something really good, because so far our campaigns have been a series of masterly retreats.
I'm going to face her with the truth.
What truth?
That John loves me.
She knows that already, child.
And that he's asked me to marry him.
Oh, so he's had that much guts? Just now that happened, I suppose?
Yes.
And the next minute I meet him slinking out the door.
Now you're a fine one to talk. When did you ever stand up to anything but a bar counter?
Well, you can't have Superman in the same house as a Superwoman.
Indeed. I've lived in the same house as your mother for the last 32 years, and so far, it's a draw.
I admit that only a most exceptional man like yourself could have stuck it out, but even you couldn't do more than hold your own. What chance has Bernie? She's coming. Oh, Bernie, don't try it. It's hopeless.
I must.
Then may the Lord have mercy.
Well, Bernie, I thought you were gone long ago. Oh, look at the time. The job is half decided by now. It won't be long till Billy Brannigan comes back with the news. Isn't this the day you do your baking, Bernie?
It is. But I wanted to talk to you before going home.
Well, now, I suppose you've had a bit of news for me, eh?
I have.
And I can guess it, child. I can guess it. You're going to tell me about a proposal. That's it. Oh, yes. I can see it in your face in one word. Now, isn't that it all?
Yes. Yeah, that's it. That's it, Aunt Ellie. But how could you know?
I have eyes in my head, I hope. I've seen it coming this past week.
And you didn't mind?
Mind? I'm delighted. I'm really charmed. I'm as pleased as Punch. Kavanagh is a lucky man, and you're lucky too. Very lucky. It isn't every day a girl without a fortune gets a match like that.
Oh, I see. But I'm not talking about Peter Kavanagh, Aunt Ellie. however much you might like to think so. I'm talking of the offer of marriage I've had from your son John.
What's that you say?
You heard what I said. I said that your son John proposed marriage to me.
How dare you? How dare you come to me with such a lie? You hussy. You scheming imposter.
Steady on.
Keep out of this, you.
Aunt Ellie, calling me names won't do me any harm or you any good. You might as well listen to what I have to say, because say it I will.
Don't you address me as your aunt, you treacherous little viper. Oh, if your mother could see you now, she'd turn in her coffin. You that I watched over like my own child, when your cracked old lunatic of a father hardly noticed whether you were alive or dead.
We'll leave my father out of this. You wouldn't be apt to understand him. He is as good and loving as a father as anyone ever had.
Great love entirely, to be huddled over the fire with the book and the thistles growing through the thatch. That's what has left you as you are.
And it is as I am that John wants me.
Balderdash, boy and girl nonsense. Oh, I saw you running in and out of the house, and you making up to John, and John making sheep's eyes at you. But it would take more than a kiss in the haggard to make you the mistress of this house. That sort of thing may give you a hold over Kavanagh or his like. Men who live in the city and draw so much a week, without a foot in the land or a stake in the country. But let me tell you, my damsel, that this house and this farm were kept in the family for generations by hard work and careful marriages. Put your romancing out of your head. A pretty face doesn't wear as well as a bank deposit.
But if I had Maureen Keogh's deposit account, would you still have her over me?
Here, don't be wasting my time with that sort of play. Don't we know you haven't, and what more's about it?
Still, I'd like to know if you have anything against me except the want of money.
If you had the money, I'd welcome you here with open arms. But as you haven't, I have this against you. That you tried to plough moss John and to have things your own way. But to come to me with your story that he asked you to marry him.
It's true, all the same.
And when did my son make you this grand proposal? Oh, so you haven't had that lie ready. When did he make it, I say?
Today.
Today? And he already engaged to Maureen Keogh? Wash it out, girl. Even if he was fool enough to propose to you, a thing I don't believe, he wasn't free to do it. He was a tied man.
He was a tied man before the Keogh match ever came up. John always meant to marry me.
If he did, why didn't he ever say so to me? Not that it would have made a scrap of difference, because I'd have put a halt to his gallop in double quick time.
He didn't tell you, because you have every ounce of courage crushed out of him, that he wouldn't dare to call his soul his own.
Well, he won't dare to call you his own anyway, and you can swear to that. And tell me another thing. If there was anything between you, why did he fall in with this match the way he did?
Because he was weak. Because he had hoped it would come to nothing. You only had to look at him to see how he hated it. To watch him with Maureen Keogh. You'd think it was buried, not married he was going to be.
Yeah. 'Tis a wonder he wasn't singing under her window. You leave my son alone from this on, and keep your nose out of what doesn't concern you.
Doesn't concern me? Didn't your marriage concern you?
My marriage, I'd have you know, was a very different business. I had a fortune that would make any man proud to have me.
And so that's all you can remember about your marriage, that you had a fortune. No wonder you call it a business. No wonder that talking to you is like talking to a stone. Oh, I'm not such a fool to think that you care how I feel. But does John's happiness really mean nothing to you?
Shh, To hear you, anyone would think John would go into a decline after you. God help your head. If you don't know what men are, I do. And I tell you that you could live with a man for 20 years and work yourself to death for him and his children. And the earth wouldn't be sunk on your coffin when he'd have another in your place. Take it from me, 5 years after marriage, a man is so used to his wife's face that he doesn't really see it anymore. One woman is the same as another to him by that time. And since that's the case, he might as well make a good bargain when he's marrying at all.
If that's your experience of marriage, I won't contradict you. You bought it, and from what you tell me, you gave good price for it. But it isn't the John of 5 years' time you have to convince, but the John of today. The John who loves me. Me! Do you hear? And who wants only me as his wife.
No, wife! I don't believe one word of it. I don't believe he ever asked you to marry him. 'Tis a trick.
Then call him in and ask him. He's outside in the paddock.
I will ask himself, and I'll ask him this minute. Do you think he'll dare to foist you on top of me? You wait, my lady. I lower your pride before you're a minute older.
That's right, child. Pull yourself together now before the next round starts.
It's only me legs. They keep trembling from under me.
Oh, Bernie, I take my hat off to you. I wanted to help you, but there was nothing for me to say.
Keep it up, girl. You're doing fine. You gave as good as you got. Oh, and for God's sake, don't cry whatever you do. Oh, women always ruin a good set to by crying in the middle of it.
There's worse to come. So far, I've only been breaking the news.
Here, she's back, seconds out of the ring.
Well, he's coming. And now, my girl, we'll see if you're bold enough to say to his face what you've been saying behind his back. You'll find you tied a knot with your tongue that your teeth won't untie.
You wanted me?
I do want you. Come in here. Come in here and defend yourself. Do you know that this girl is scheming to break the match with the Kyo's? Well, do you hear what I'm saying to you? Why don't you answer?
You don't understand, Bernie. You don't know what she is.
I don't know what she is. Oh, no, not at all. She's a harmless little creature that doesn't know what side her bread is buttered on. Do you know the claim she's making here? Over Wright, your uncle, and your brother? She claims that you asked her to marry you. No wonder you're struck dumb. Why? 'Tis such a joke that I wouldn't even ask you to talk of it, only that she won't stop brazening it out. Give her answer, the way that I can show her the door. Tell her she's lying.
She's not lying.
What?
It's the truth. I did ask her to marry me.
Aha! Good man, John.
You did ask her. You have the nerve to stand there and tell me such a thing. You did ask her. And since when were you free to say who you'd marry? What do you think I am? An idiot? What do you expect me to do? Give you me blessing? Here, there's just one question I'd like to ask you. Just one question, if you wouldn't mind answering. Have you ever heard of the Kyo's?
I have, to my cost.
Maybe the name Maureen Kyo is familiar?
Not half so familiar as herself, the vulgar little horror.
Oh, so you're still there. I'll deal with you in a minute. John, so did you hear of Maureen Kyo? Now, I'd have thought you'd have forgotten her. A couple of weeks ago, you pledged yourself to marry her, and today you pledged yourself to marry Bernie Regan. Why stop there when you're committing bigamy and all? It might as well do it in style. This is Ballyduff, not Salt Lake City. But don't let that stand in your way.
I didn't pledge myself to Maureen Kyo. It was yourself fixed all that up.
Very good. I fixed it up, and I'll carry it through. I'll never allow you to marry Bernie Regan.
And how can you stop him? You wouldn't stop me if I was in his shoes.
I can stop him, and very easily. I can will this farm away from him, and that's what I intend to do if he marries against my wishes. Now maybe we'll see how much gravel is in all this highfalutin talk. John, is Bernie Regan more important to you than this house and land? If she is itself, it doesn't matter, because it isn't you she wants to marry, but the farm.
Ellie Fogarty, from the day you came into this house as my brother's wife, I never saw eye to eye with you. But all the same, I had a sort of respect for you. I never thought till now that you were an unjust woman. Even if my brother was so much under your thumb as to leave the place to you, don't you know right well that he meant it to pass on to John?
Did he mean John to make ducks and drakes of it by a foolish marriage? No, I stand by what I said, and it is for John to decide.
Very well then, I will decide. I'm sick of all of it. A man would be better off tramping the roads and putting up with any more of this sort of thing. Keep the house, keep the farm, keep everything. I don't care. I'll do what I said. I'll marry Bernie and have a bit of peace for a change.
Oh, you will?
Yes, I will. If she'll have me.
I'll be proud to have you, John.
I'll engage. And what do you live on?
On my father's farm.
Very nice entirely. 'Tis a grand future for a man to be a labourer on his wife's father's farm.
Oh, not at all. Sure, my father only wants to go on living in the house the way he's always lived. He's only too willing to hand over the farm to the man that I marry.
The farm? Do you call that stretch of weeds a farm?
Oh, I admit, 'tis neglected, but 'tis really good land. It isn't very big now, and of course, no one could compare it to this place. But 'twill be a change for John anyway, and to be working land that he can really call his own. That'll give him the heart to make it prosper, won't it, John?
I'll make it prosper. Be sure of that.
Oh, begar, ma'am. 'Twill be a great advertisement for you altogether. Sure, 'twill be talked of far and wide. The woman who reared her son, a first-rate farmer, and then sent him down to Andy Regan's as an agricultural missionary. I tell you, it isn't every woman would help her neighbour like that now and leave herself stranded without a manager.
I'll manage for myself.
Oh, you could, maybe 10 or 15 years ago, but not now. Yet anyway, a woman can't run a farm without a right-hand man. Still, of course, you could promote Carmody. Or maybe you'd let the place to a dairyman.
I'll let the place to no dairyman. I have a son left.
Who? Me?
Yes, you. You can turn in and run things here now.
What do I know about running a farm?
You'll learn.
But you forget, I'm going to be an egg tester.
Well, you needn't be an egg tester now. I want you here.
Really? Mother, may I respectfully remind you that you are not Aladdin and that I am not the slave of the lamp. You can't go on expecting me to undertake some fresh exploit every time you decide to wish a wish. First you decide that I was to be a doctor. Very well. I went to college, worked like a beaver. Then hey presto, without a word of warning, you decided that I was to be an egg tester. There are sons who would have refused positively to spend the rest of their lives brooding over eggs. But did I flinch? No. Now I am to be a farmer, a gift of a life. Only 23 hours work out of the 24, and the rest of the day is my own. The answer is no. Emphatically no.
It means nothing to you, so, that you could come in for this place?
Not a thing. Look at John. After all the work he put into the place, it didn't take you 5 minutes to throw him out on his ear. I really couldn't bear the uncertainty of packing and unpacking every time the wind changed. I'm tired of this game of cat and mouse. In fact, I'm through. If I get this foul job of egg tester, I'll take it, but I won't live here.
Indeed. Maybe you forget that there's no hotel in Ballyduff and that you couldn't afford to stay in one if there was. Or maybe you're thinking of lodging in Biddy O'Grady's old shack.
No, actually, I intend to stay at Bernie's if she can fit me in.
Oh, we'll be delighted, Larry. 100,000 welcomes.
Strictly business, of course. So much per week and all that.
Oh, whatever you say, 'twill be a great help to John and myself.
You'll bear in mind that I'm very partial to a sausage with my tea. I never seem to get him in this house.
Well, well, it seems, ma'am, that there'll be nobody left here but the two of us. I suppose there'd be no room for me down at Regan's. If there was, I'd pack me things in the morning. I've no taste at all for living with a woman that's going to be the laughing stock of the 7 parishes.
And what would make me a laughing stock, pray?
No one knows that better than yourself. The woman who drove her family to water but couldn't make them drink. And you needn't think you'll get any sympathy by telling your mind to people who've been waiting all their lives to see you meet your match. Well, you've met it. Yes, by damn, you've met it, and you deserve it. You always held the whip hand, but you've cracked your whip once too often. God help us, woman. Did it ever strike you that you were cutting a rod to beat yourself? Every time you pass by Regan's, it'll be scalding the heart out of you to see the value of the son that you've lost.
Every time you pass the egg testing place, it will kill you to think that, only for the way you fell out with me, I'd be testing your eggs for nothing.
And so I'm to be trampled on, am I? I'm to be disgraced before everyone? Oh, John, how could you let that girl turn you against your mother?
Mother, I'm not against you. 'Tis you're against me. Bernie never wanted to cause a break. She said she didn't want me to choose between you and her.
And why should she? 'Tis a queer thing if a man can't have a wife and a mother at the same time. If he wants them, that is.
Did Bernie say that? That she didn't want to take you from me?
She did.
Well, mind you, I'm just as much against this match as I ever was. 'Twill be the ruin of all our prospects. But if the two of you are bent on marrying, maybe you'd be better here than down at Regan's old dump.
Ah, but you couldn't expect them to settle down in a place that isn't their own.
Well, I'll settle it up at Shay's.
You mean you'll sign the place over to John now?
I do.
Oh, Mother, then it's all right.
Do you mean this, Aunt Ellie?
What can I do between the whole of you? I'm nobody. I'm just an old shoe that you'd throw in a corner. Oh, what a curse was down on me that I never saw it would come to this. Well, 'tis too late now, we're destroyed. £800 of a fortune gone and a penniless girl on the floor to us.
Well, not exactly penniless, ma'am. Andy Regan's must be worth 500, and John can work it as an outside farm.
How am I to face the Kyo's? What can I say to them?
If you're the woman I take you for, you'll see that there's a safe way and an easy way of dealing with the Kyo's.
Very well, I do see it. If the Kyo matches off, I won't give them the style of breaking it. And I won't put it in their power to say that I made a match for my son and he half promised already that it'd make it hot for us that got out. And how would I look except as a cheat or a fool? Now, listen to me, all of you. We must be the one word in this.
Victory, 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 victory. We won. We won. The job is ours. Lay it there, Larry, I was shocked. Lay it there, ma'am. From this day, you can consider yourself the mother of an egg tester. And who did it, Mrs. Fogarty? Willie Brannigan did it. Willie Brannigan, the greatest canvasser the length and breadth of Ireland. When you want a job, you ask Brannigan. Brannigan can't fail. Brannigan is an omnipotent.
Thank you, Willie. Thank you. We'll never forget you for it.
Yes, sorry.
So, you did the work of 10 men to help us.
The other young fella had the wrong kind of canvasser altogether. Poor young fella. He's very caught.
Willie, I don't know how to tell you this, but I must say it once for the sake of the young fella who lost the job. I've changed my mind.
What?
I've changed my mind. Larry will finish his course for a doctor.
Mother, do you mean it?
Yes. Shut up.
Did I hear you, or was I dreaming? No. I've had a little drop in drinking to our victory. You know, just a little drop. And I'm imagining things. Just imagining. I thought I heard you say that Larry was going back to college.
You didn't imagine it, Willie. Larry is going back to college.
I can't thank you enough for what you did for me. We didn't know at the time, but I'd just like to say that...
Get me out of here. Let me out of here. Me that has me feet cool ribbons. Cool ribbons galloping around the country after me.
Wait a minute, Willie. Sit down and I'll get you something.
Me that will never see the light of heaven with all the lies that I told for me. Me that has given so many promises that you couldn't carry them out, even if you had as many lives as a cat. Me that even concocted a national record with evidence, when at least ye couldn't stop me from winning the election, even though you were the worst material I ever had to work at. I'm an embittered man.
I better go after him and see him safe to the street.
You ought to.
I'll take him into Murphy's and sober him up.
See that you don't come home worse than him.
It's grand, Mother, that you've decided to let Larry finish his course.
Well, why wouldn't I? My own son, and it is father's dying wish that Larry would be a doctor. Let the Kyo's put that in their pipes and smoke it. That finishes the match from our side. A clean cut and no grounds for action.
Very sound, ma'am. Very sound. I knew your brain would come to the surface again when the floods of rage went down.
Mind you, you'll have to wait a bit. If you got married at once, the people would smell a rat.
We'll wait now that we know we can wait safely.
Aunt Ellie, I'll be a good daughter to you. I swear I will.
Why should you be good to me? You'll be able to do what you like when you're mistress here.
But I don't want to be mistress here. Sure, how would I manage without you to show me?
That's true indeed. Well, you can't expect me to take you into me arms just now, but we'll shake down together, I suppose. 'Twill be no harm anyway to have another pair of hands around the house. And one thing I will say to you. You have spirit, and you seem ready to learn. What was wrong with that young mare out in the paddock?
Oh, nothing much, just a swollen fetlock.
I must have a look at it. And that girl Nora, I suppose she's been idling all this time.
And now we're in for another stretch of petticoat government.
Going into record.
3, 2, 1.
We're game.
Say something.
Make the tea while I'm finishing the bread.
Oh, not a drop, man, not a bite.
Best of luck.
No, Mike, so hang on.
She called Pod instead of John.
I had designs on you, Pod.
3, 2, 1.
No, but this.
Use my acting skills.
Who do you think I am? Einstein.